I don't need to be the main character. I need the message to reach people. I want to open my heart for a few minutes. Many people ask me why I do things differently. Why do I use artificial intelligence? Why do I use avatars? Why do I invest so many hours writing? Why do I spend so much time studying? Why do I keep learning when I could simply repeat the same thing over and over again? And the answer is very simple, because my purpose has never been to become the news. My purpose has always been for the message to reach people. I am not interested in becoming an internet celebrity. I am not interested in people remembering my face more than the content. I am not interested in living for approval. What I truly desire is that when someone finishes listening to one of my messages, they love their family more, strengthen their marriage, value their children more, serve others better, and remember that God remains the strongest foundation on which a life is worth building. If achieving that means I must appear in front of the camera, I will do it. If an avatar can communicate the message with excellence while I continue researching, writing, and preparing the next piece of content, I will do that too. Because for me, the creator should never be the main character. The purpose should always be the main character. We live in a time when image often seems to matter more than content, where who said something appears to matter more than what was actually said. I want to walk in a different direction. I do not want to compete for attention. I want to compete by adding value. I do not want people to follow me only because I appear in a video. I want them to come back because they found something that helped them live better, because they found an idea that strengthened their marriage, because they found a reflection that restored their hope, because they discovered a tool that helped them grow professionally, because they learned something that transformed the way they think. That is worth far more than any trend. Many people believe that when someone chooses to do things differently, they must automatically be wrong. But history proves the exact opposite. Every person who chose to break the mold was called strange before being recognized. Those who thought differently were called dreamers. Those who innovated were called crazy. Those who defended principles in the middle of a different culture were called outdated. And yet, those were the people who ended up leaving a legacy. So if someone thinks I am strange for using technology to share principles, I am willing to accept that. If someone considers it odd that I dedicate hours to studying before recording a video, that does not concern me. If someone thinks I am exaggerating because I write complete manuscripts before producing content, that does not stop me either. Because many years ago, I understood a truth that gave me freedom. What will people say? Has never paid a bill. What will people say? Has never educated my children. What will people say? Has never strengthened a marriage. What will people say? Has never changed a life. Opinions change every day. Principles remain. That is why, a long time ago, I decided to stop living to impress people and start living to fulfill the purpose God placed in my heart. And that purpose requires preparation. I do not speak just to speak. I do not share ideas simply because they sound nice. I do not post only to fill a content calendar. Behind every message, there is a process many people never see. There are hours of reading. There are open books on my desk. There are pages filled with notes written in my own handwriting. There are ideas written down in the middle of the night because I do not want to lose a reflection that could serve someone. There are voice notes recorded while I drive or walk. There are Word documents with dozens of revisions. There are conferences I listen to again and again. There are podcasts I analyze carefully. There are authors I study. There is research. There are questions. There is prayer. Because I deeply believe that anyone who teaches also has the responsibility to keep learning. I have never wanted to become someone who repeats empty motivational phrases. I want to build content with a foundation, with context, with depth, content that can stand the test of time. Everything I invest in education, I do not consider an expense. I consider it an investment. Every book I buy represents a conversation with someone who dedicated years of their life to researching a topic. Every course helps me discover new tools. Every mentor helps me avoid mistakes they already made. Every conference expands the way I think. Every podcast challenges me to keep growing. I have never believed that one person knows everything. That is why I keep learning. I keep listening. I keep asking questions. I keep observing. I keep reading, I keep studying, because knowledge is a responsibility. And the more we learn, the greater our commitment should be to share that learning with humility. I am also deeply grateful for the ministries, pastors, teachers, and mentors God has placed in my path. No one grows completely alone. We all need people who confront us with love, who correct us, who inspire us, who remind us that knowledge without character can become arrogance. Listening to their advice helps me keep my feet on the ground and my heart focused on service. I am not trying to replace those voices. I am trying to learn from them and, from my own experience, contribute something that can complement and bless others. From a very young age, I discovered something that still inspires me today: writing, before I knew artificial intelligence, before I used editing programs, before I worked with digital tools. I was already writing. I wrote thoughts, stories, reflections, ideas. I filled notebooks. I saved notes, because writing has always been a way for me to organize my mind and express what I carry in my heart. Over time, I understood that this love for writing was much more than a hobby. It was a gift, and like every gift, it had to be developed. That is why I visited libraries. I read hundreds of pages. I consulted different authors. I sought to understand different perspectives in Nicaragua, in El Salvador, and later I continued doing so wherever life took me. I never stopped learning. Technology came later, and instead of replacing that process, it strengthened it. Today, I use applications, programs, artificial intelligence, organization systems, and digital tools because they allow me to work more efficiently. Not to think for me, but to help me communicate better what I have already studied, reflected on, and written. Artificial intelligence does not replace my purpose. It multiplies my ability to serve. If I can turn a manuscript into a video that reaches thousands of families, I will do it. If I can transform a voice note into an article that inspires someone, I will do it. If I can use an avatar so the message reaches more people while I keep writing the next book, I will do that too. Because the tool will never be more important than the mission. And the mission remains the same: to add value, to build, to serve, to inspire, to strengthen families, to encourage personal and professional growth, to teach how to use technology with ethics and purpose, and to remember that knowledge only makes sense when it becomes service. My goal is not to fill the internet with content. My goal is to fill the internet with content worth remembering, content that a mother can share with her child, that a husband and wife can listen to together, that a young person can find when searching for direction, that an entrepreneur can use to grow with integrity, that a family can discuss around the table. If one day someone asks who Gustavo Baldelomar was, I would not want the first answer to be he was a content creator. I would like them to say he was a person who used everything he learned to serve others. He was someone who never stopped studying. He was someone who believed technology could be used for good. He was someone who placed God at the center of his life, deeply loved his family, and dedicated his talents to strengthening the lives of others. If that becomes my legacy, then all the time invested, every book read, every manuscript written, every night of study, every podcast listened to, every mentor who taught me, every tool I learned to use, and every video I published will have had a purpose much greater than gaining followers. They will have served to leave something no platform can measure and no algorithm can replace. A legacy of service, knowledge, hope, and faith that continues bearing fruit in the lives of others long after my voice can no longer be heard.